Call the meeting to order at 5:02. I forget it's all in here. Roll call. Thanks, Dinah.
Board Member Van Landingham.
Present.
Board Member Vice President Clerk Barrow.
Present.
President Cole.
Present.
One board member is absent and one is on her way.
Great. Thanks, Dinah. We'll move on to public comments and communication regarding closed session. Members of the audience can address the board regarding closed session items. Comments of the visitors shall not exceed 3 minutes unless waived by a majority of the members of all board. Do we have anyone online?
We do not have any online
Okay,
comments.
well, we don't have anyone in our session here tonight, so we are going to move on to the closed session. Thanks. Just like that. we'll call the meeting to order at 6:04. And can I get the roll call, Dinah? There's nothing to be called out from closed session.
Board Member Van Landingham. Present. Board Member Bove LaMonica. Present. Vice President Clerk Barrow.
Present.
President Cole.
Present.
4 present. Board Member Cluth absent. You have a quorum.
Great, thanks, Dinah. Can I please have everyone join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
These chairs are so big.
I know. Can I get an approval of the agenda? Thanks, Rachel.
Second.
Good try. I'll take Kathy.
Yes.
Announcements, Dr. Wild.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So this evening, we want to take some time to honor 2 extraordinary individuals whose unwavering dedication has shaped countless lives and touched the hearts of many. Our beloved kindergarten teacher, Lori Koch, and our devoted occupational therapist, Christine Soria. Unfortunately, Christine Soria couldn't be here with us tonight as she had another commitment. Through gentle guidance, creativity, and passion, Lori Koch has laid the very foundation of learning for generations of children. In those early formative years, she's not only taught letters and numbers, but she, more importantly, has taught kindness, confidence, and curiosity, gifts that will last a lifetime. Lori's classroom has been a safe haven, a place where little ones discover the joy of learning and the comfort of belonging. To share more about the lasting legacy of Lori, I'd like to introduce Principal Hillary Overbeck and Lori's longtime teaching partner, Holly Corman.
We just got started. Welcome.
And Jorge's here.
Now it's a party.
You're supposed to stand here and hear nice things about you holding this flower.
Thank you. I can't believe you're here.
Yes. Of course. Good evening, board members. Tonight, I have the privilege of honoring someone very special, one of our beloved kindergarten teachers who is retiring after 36 incredible years of service to our students, families, and communities. When I first arrived in Hermosa as a new teacher, I was fortunate to be placed on the kindergarten team with Miss Koch, who welcomed me with warmth, kindness, and lots of resources. She and her partner teacher, Miss Corman, made sure that I was up to speed on everything and felt like I belonged. The next year, we became classroom roommates when we shifted to half-day kindergarten, and I had a front row seat for 180 days of the incredible work that you did with you teaching in the morning session, and I did my best to be half as good in the PM session. I saw what families in our community have known for decades. Ms. Koch is the kind of teacher you hope your child has for their first years of school, and I learned so much from her. That kind of support and inspiration stays with you. It's something I've never forgotten, and it says so much about who Lori is, not just as a colleague, but as a person. As a teacher, Ms. Koch has always maintained a joyful, structured, and engaging place where routines gave kids a sense of safety and playfulness made learning exciting. You'd hear music, see movement, and witness whole-body learning every single day, and always with the support of her committed parent volunteers. There's practically a waiting list to be a volunteer in Ms. Koch's room. Ms. Koch made volunteers and students feel welcomed and valued, and it was a pleasure to work in the room with you. I was pink-slipped more times than I can count as a new teacher in Hermosa, and every time, Lori would say, they'll bring you back, they hire every year. And sure enough, they brought me back and they hire every year. And Lori was a constant encourager to me, not only in teaching, but when I moved to administration as well. Now, many people actually think that Miss Koch Corman is a single person, am I right? Because she and her job share teacher of 22 years are so in sync with everything. So I'd like to invite Holly Corman to share a few words.
Okay, so I'm not going to be able to look at you because I have to keep it together. So I am so happy to be here this evening to honor, here we go, my best friend and true partner in teaching. We're not partner. I wanted Lori to know how much I am going to miss her next year as she pursues her new life adventures. We have so many memories together, it's hard to know where to begin, so I'll try to sum it up the best I can about our 22 years teaching together. First, I have to say thank you because Lori was the friend that told me about the position in kindergarten, the long-term sub position in the year 2000. Without her guidance, I could not have even been a teacher at Hermosa or a partner teaching. Our strong friendship has been the basis of our work relationship all these years. We are like sisters, and from the beginning have had complementary styles of teaching that were enhanced by each other. We began in half-day kinder teaching together on wonderful Wacky Wednesdays and moved to new schedules as K became full day. It did not allow us to be there together. However, we talked almost daily and consulted each other on all the classroom decisions, always agreeing. Over the years, we had to apply for our job share every year, and each year we relied on each other with so much confidence. I am so blessed to have been able to teach with Lori, beside Lori, and fill my many years with her laughter and enthusiasm and dancing, for teaching and love for every child in our classes. I will definitely live vicariously through her in the next phase and beg her to please help me in my classroom regularly. Thank you so much for all your knowledge, passion, and enthusiasm. 50, Nifty, and Goldilocks will be remembered in all the lives that you have touched. You won't have to worry about being called Mrs. Corman anymore, but I will definitely always answer to Mrs. Koch and feel proud to call your name. Just like we do in our kinder class, I'd like you to join me in honoring Lori with 3 hip hip hoorays. Oh, no. Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Love you, Lori.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Right. Well, you can if you want.
I do have one thing to share with you at the end.
Oh, great.
It's a picture of when I got hired by the superintendent, and I was on my sister's bed screaming like, and it's like an old Kodak film. I have it in my purse.
We need that. We absolutely need that. So the greatest,
Trust me, we all want these
so
waves.
the greatest honor that we can give in Hermosa Beach is a giant wave. So you get the tidal wave tonight.
Oh, Jensen, you can't steal that.
And then we also have recognition from our city and our local leaders. So
This is awesome.
so much. We absolutely have adored you, and our kids are better to have known you. So thank you. And we're going to be at the Badminton Club together. So.
Her kids, I have a little connection.
So if you want to bring your family up and take a picture?
Take a picture, and then I'm going with Holly too. Oh, this is the
That's
photo.
the picture.
Okay, I need a photo of that.
And then Holly and I next to with short hair. This is when they thought we were partners. That's funny.
What year was that?
1989. That was Yes, there's one. I had one that was pregnant at the same time as some of us. And then now this year I have one that's in TK. And so the parents, yeah. All right.
That's it.
Do you want YouTube first?
You two together.
Oh, our daughter's missing.
We'll Photoshop her in.
Yeah.
I like oh, yeah. All right.
Here, do you want to hold your wave?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Hold my wave. There we go. All of us and then the 3 of us. Okay, thank you.
So great.
Okay,
Yeah.
now can I just get these? Okay, there we go. Sorry, I have to charge this minute. Awesome. Thank you.
We are. So even though she can't be here tonight, I do want to share a few words about Chris Soria. So our occupational therapist, Chris Soria, has worked magic in quieter, deeply meaningful ways. Occupational therapists aren't always the people in front of class. They're not always the people who we see running about the campus, but they're doing such powerful work on the sidelines and making sure that students are successful in classrooms. Chris has been working in Hermosa, helping children find strength in their own abilities, helping them foster independence in their occupational therapy needs, and building bridges of support for families. Her work has empowered children to participate fully and joyfully in school life, often transforming challenges that students may have into milestones worth celebrating. Together, both Chris and Lori, these two incredible educators, have not only supported children and their families with compassion and expertise, but have also uplifted their colleagues. Their wisdom, collaboration, and positivity have helped shape a professional community grounded in a culture of care, and we thank them for everything they've done for Hermosa.
Thanks, Susan. Thank you. Thank you to everyone. We're going to move on to 2.1 public comments from the audience to the board on any items in closed session. Members of the audience may address the board regarding closed session items. Sorry, I'm wrong. Yeah. Yep. Moving on to public comments from the audience in person to the board. Members of the audience may address the board on any topic regardless of whether it's listed on the agenda. However, the board may not discuss issues raised that are not listed on the agenda. Topics not on the agenda that are brought to the board's attention may be investigated by the administration and a report made to the board either publicly or privately at a future meeting. Comments from visitors shall not exceed 3 minutes per individual speaker unless waived by a majority of all members of the board. Dinah, do we have anyone here tonight? Is there anyone online?
No.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Did you turn in your pink paper, your piece of paper? Is there a piece of paper in the front?
You can turn it in after the fact.
Yeah, why don't you come on up, but just make sure you have it. And just state your name and where you live.
Hello, board.
Hi.
Principals, superintendent. I'm Jim Fasola. I've got 2 kids at Valley right now. And I spoke to Maggie on the phone about a week ago, and I thought it would be good just to come to the public speaking and tell you what I was thinking about the artificial turf proposal for Vista. And that grass there has, it's doing terribly, and it has been for years. But I wanted to, at first I thought it was overused because that is what people think. And but I've looked at when View was redone and when Vista was built, all the irrigation was a drip system, most of it underground drip system, which is pipes with little holes, and that's how everything new was irrigated. The old systems are sprayed, and they spray the water up in the air. Well, everywhere that the drip irrigation has been used, the plants have died, and I've got some photos at Vista, at the south side of the front of View, on the north side of the front at View, and in the planter strip at View. And I'll give these to the
You can give them to Dinah.
to the board to look at. So everywhere that drip system was installed, the plants have died. So it's not just the grass. However, wherever the spray system was kept, which is at View, at the main field, the grass is fine. Everything is living. And at Valley, of course, the grass is thriving there. And so the problem is probably, I'm an architect. I work with landscape architects all the time and landscapers. And in general, they hate drip systems. And the problem is, one thing, you can't tell things are going wrong because you can't see the water. You can't tell what's getting water and what's not. But my landscape architect looked at the big dead stripe at Vista and said, well, there is a problem with the irrigation system. That was his, that was his opinion, but it is not it can't be proved. It's very hard to fix it. And if you do have to fix the system, you have to dig it all up, and it's very invasive. The problem with the drip system here, it works well in clay soils, which hold water, but we have very sandy soil. And so the grass is up here, and the pipes are down here, and when it waters, the water goes straight down to the center of the earth, and the grass rarely sees it. So I think that I'm just going to throw it out there, that before the
Gentleman's time has expired.
before the board spends hundreds of thousands of dollars on artificial turf, which it's costly and needs replacement about every 10 years when it's heavily used, they might look at replacing the irrigation system and planting a more appropriate grass. I will say here is Seaview Park, which is very heavily used, and it has a spray system, a traditional spray system, and the grass is doing fine. So I'll leave it at that. I'll say that drip systems are problematic, and almost nobody recommends them for sandy soil. So.
Well, thank you for coming, and thanks for that information. I mean, I understand the difference between the two systems, and I'm not sure we were aware that there was differences in the irrigation. So thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Well,
we appreciate it. Appreciate the pictures, and I know you've come to a few meetings, so appreciate you being interested in it.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm retired now, so I have lots of Those are, yes. You want a little rundown, too?
Yeah, we would love it. Thank you.
And I will fill out my pink.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you for listening.
Moving on, any other public comments? All right, we're going to move on to opening our number 9 public hearing. And there's a hearing on the 2025-2026 Local Control Accountability Plan, also known as LCAP, and the annual update. The board will hold a public hearing on the Local Control Accountability Plan and budget of the district for the year ending June 30th, 2025, prior to the final adoption as required by the Ed Code, sections 42103, 42127A1, and 52062. Public comment is requested. We'll leave it open for a second. We're not closing it yet, but I'm just going to move on to the next one because I close it at a different time. All right, I'm going to move on to 9.2, a hearing on the 2025-2026 local control funding formula budget. The board will hold a public hearing on the local control funding formula budget on the district for the year ending June 30th, 2025, prior to the final adoption as required by Ed Code sections 42103, 42127A1, and 52062. Public comment is requested. We'll just pause for a minute. Anybody have any public comment? Alan? I'm joking. All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to number 10, board member reports. Do we need to take a vote to close it already? It's not in the next part?
No, take a vote to close.
Do I need to take a vote to close each of them individually?
I move to close public hearing 9.1 on the 2025-26 Local Control Accountability Plan and Annual Update.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Maggie and Rachel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to approve the
Close.
9.2.
Close.
To close.
I move to close 9.2 hearing on the 2025-2026 local control funding formula budget.
Great, thank you. And do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Maggie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to board member reports. Anybody? Okay. And anybody have a?
I don't know if it's a report necessarily, but I attended the 8th grade, 3rd grade book celebration.
Why don't we talk about that in
Later.
round table?
Round
That'd be
table.
great.
Okay.
Rachel, do you have anything from?
I had the honor of attending the joint HBF PTO meeting last night, in which the budget, there was an overview of the budget and HBFs. They don't have the final numbers yet from Hearts of Hermosa, but just the wonderful feedback on Hearts of Hermosa and having it at Vista, just all the, and the incredible
Country
public.
Thunder.
Yes, Country Thunder was amazing. They're coming back. There's still a flash party. There's still tickets open on the Hermosa Beach
or Hermosa Ed Foundation, the Hearts of Hermosa site. But it was really wonderful to see and to hear how healthy those organizations are doing and how much they've done for our schools.
Great, thank you. Anything, Maggie?
Yeah, update from the South Bay Community Coalition Against Hate. They had the May meeting, and with that, we have support from Congressman Ted Lieu's office for any nonprofits that might be curious how to deal with the DEI audits that are coming down from the federal government. So Ted Lieu's office is available to help any nonprofit talk through what that looks like. In addition, there's a House bill called the Nonprofit Killer Bill, 9495, and so that is also being watched out there. There was an update from El Segundo that they had a family of a middle schooler was deported last month, and so just talking about the different Know Your Rights trainings that are available. The other events are June. Heal the Bay is hosting a cleanup this Sunday, June 8th at 9:30 in the morning in Redondo Beach. We have that. Do we have that actually on a website somewhere, Susan?
It's in the Wave Watch.
It's in the Wave Watch, so there's ability to sign up. South Bay Community Coalition Against Hate is an official partner with that. So you have all the different school districts and city councils that are also supporting that effort, and it's being hosted by Heal the Bay Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. And then lastly, there is continued updates on the October 19th to 25th United Against Hate Week. There's social media toolkits. There's different ways for students to have advocacy opportunities within that, and there's also opportunities to have lawn signs. That's it.
And where do people pick up lawn signs? How do you get those?
Reach out to me.
Reach out to Maggie. Okay.
Okay.
Anything from, we didn't have a SC, a social emotional, a wellness council meeting or an
Next
equity?
week.
Next week, okay.
Yep.
Great. All right, moving on. Reports to the board and discussion, 11.1, local control accountability plan, the LCAP annual update, local indicators, and the 2025-2026 LCFF budget presentation. Ms. Gluck and Ms. Montalvo.
Good evening. Paul and I are here to speak with you in regards to the LCAP and the budget. Slide, please. Okay, the LCAP. Annually, all schools are required to produce an LCAP, and we do link our local control funding formula to various needs for students. The nice thing about our LCAP, it is written for Hermosa students and the needs based on our data, and that's where our district creates our goals, actions, services, and expenditures. We are really happy to report that we are in a two-year cycle in year 2. I may need help because it's just going off on its own when I put it down, okay? Right now, the 25-26 LCAP requirements are all listed. These are the various components of our LCAP. The LCAP is linked on the back of the presentation, our draft, and it's also linked on our website. But those are the components that we do need to report on. Some are from Paula's in regards to expenditure tables as related to the budget, as well as goals, actions, and the various ways that we engage with our educational partners. Most importantly, that we do need a report on how we're going to increase or improve services for our unduplicated students. Slide, please. When we write the LCAP, we do have to report on 8 state priorities from the state of California. The 3 big buckets are conditions of learning, engagement, and pupil outcomes. You can see the various components and how they're listed. The 8 priorities are dedicated to our 3 goals that we have. Slide, please. This year, we kept our goals in line with the goals that we had last year for continuity, and so that way we can go ahead and look at our action items and our metrics to ensure that we're making progress. We did simplify them a bit when we wrote them out. So in regards to inclusion, we're going to continue to improve awareness resiliency, and climate through social emotional development and engagement. Achievement, we really simplify this. We just really want to focus on academic achievement through research-based practices and program. We feel as a district this is a starting point, and it's a thing that we need to focus on in Tier 1 is important that all students are able to access. Goal 3, our community. We're going to continue to strengthen our ties and our network and continue to grow our enrollment, which we've done an excellent job over the last 2 years. Slide, please. When we look at how we engage educational partners, I really feel our district does an excellent job reaching out to so many various organizations, whether it's our superintendent that's reaching out, myself, our EL coordinator reaching out with our English language learners, principals meetings. We have really strong relationship with our Ed Foundation and PTO. But you can see these are the various organizations that we have reached out with, worked with, and we've done this all year. These aren't just one meetings that we have, they're throughout the school year. So we do get some authentic feedback. Slide, please. Based on our recommendations with our various stakeholder groups, you can see the following bullet points that we will be adding to our LCAP this year. These are areas we'd like to highlight. We were going to continue to highlight high-quality professional development. This is going to be tied to our English language arts program that we adopted last month, Wit and Wisdom. This is a K-8 initiative, so we are looking for some vertical articulation to strengthen our program. We are going to continue with strong Tier 1 instruction for all of our students, and we are looking to dedicate a TOSA, Teacher on Special Assignment, for technology. We want to go ahead and look at AI and how it integrates to teaching and learning and how we can best utilize it to teach our students to use it as a tool. Can you go back to that slide? Thank you. We also want to go ahead and continue to look at our access of elective courses. It's really important that we continue to offer the 0 period so our students can take 2 electives. We want to make sure that they have a broad course of study and that if any student would like to explore a different topic such as music or foreign language, they have the opportunity to do both. We're going to really move full force with full-time library media technicians at every school site. We want to ensure that our students have access to the library before and after school, and that our library media technicians will focus on teaching digital literacy to our students throughout the school day. And we will continue to focus on our ELD program and how we are going to do that this year. We are going to create an instructional block for our students in middle school. So they'll have a dedicated block for English language development because as we look at our data through our CAS scores and iReady scores, we see there's a need to focus to provide those students with dedicated instruction. And lastly, we will continue to work on our 3 principal school site with expanding our wellness program with additional social emotional support with our counseling services. Slide, please. Goal 1 is our inclusion goal. When we write the LCAP, we are responsible for looking at different items. We have metrics that we're responsible to look at and to see that we're making growth. We also look at the success we had throughout the school year, what challenges we have, and how we're changing that goal. So as you can see, we have various metrics that we use for Goal 1. Most of them are climate surveys as well as data points through PowerSchool that we collect in regards to absenteeism, suspension rates, and the California dashboard is now a pivotal part when we write the LCAP. We do look at all the data from the dashboard that's collected from the state of California. We did an excellent job in regards to improving our chronic absenteeism. Last year when we wrote the LCAP, we were in the red level, which is a level that we were required to address due to where we were at. And with the efforts we've made with our site principals and communication home, we now are at the green level. So that's a very positive outcome for the district, as well as continuing to support our students with social emotional support with counseling service. We were able to add 12 hours of additional counseling service at View and Vista in January with an LMFT. And Dr. Wild's training everyone as a reading teacher really helped to set the mind point and have teachers understand what the components of the science of reading are and why it was so important to make that pivot for the next school year. Our challenges are listed there. Participation rates seem to be low, whether it's parent education before or after school or summer school. Anything outside of the school day is hard to get people to come to school. You can go ahead and look at what changes we're making. We are going to add an additional 0.6 counselor. So View and Vista will have a counselor that's dedicated to their school sites, 0.8 at both school sites, FTE. The new English language development instructional block for students is important that we're addressing those needs. Reading intervention teacher, reading coach, culturally responsive content managers, and social media consultant. We are discontinuing those items. We feel based on a strong Tier 1 instructional program with our English language arts that can be addressed, as well as social media consultant. The needs that we had for that individual will be addressed with counseling support. Goal 2 is excellence, where we're going to be focusing on academics. Most of the metrics in regards to culture of excellence, as you can see, are related to data points from our test scores, as well as data from our English language learners from the LPAC and reclassification rate, as well as state standards. We've had a lot of successes. That 0 period elective, I cannot say enough positive things. Kids wanting to come to school early and also taking an additional class. I think that's a very positive momentum that we have as a district, and that's partly because we are offering the music in Spanish and also expanding our elective offerings. Adopting a new textbook, K through 8, is monumental in our district. I think that's going to assist all students with a continuum of standards in regards to expanding their reading, writing skills and listening skills. And then just to continue to support our English learner support program has been a positive choice in our district. We have students participating in before and after school, but I think moving that program to the day will be more helpful for our English language learners. Once again, participation rates seem to be a challenge, as well as being in a small district. Sometimes our master schedule is hard to maneuver due to credentialing. As you can see, the changes that we'll be making for Goal 2, our new English language adoption and professional development will be a main focus on our LCAP this year. The technology, TOSA, we're really looking forward to add that position to the district. Teaching digital literacy through library is going to assist all students, as well as dedicating RSP teachers at each school site that will also address multi-tier interventions and supports for the site teachers, and having a site principal at each school site for leadership and continuity is important. Our last goal is community, and when we look at community, we've had a lot of successes with Goal 3. Our metrics are our facilities inspection tool that's completed every October. We've done an excellent job with inter-district permits, as well as credentialed teacher assignments, instructional material, and looking at our data from Power School. Our successes, I continue to stand by our full-day TK and kindergarten program. I think that makes us stand out. In the South Bay, we were one of the first people to do it, and we continue to do it and do it well. Our partnership with Star Education has assisted with expanding our TK and K program because of before and after daycare, as well as enrichment, which has led to enrollment growth. We've done an excellent job with communication and our communication director, whether we our digital communication home, whether it's Instagram or emails home. I think we've done a home run with that, as well as our district newsletter. And I have to say, our e-bikes safety program is probably the best one in the South Bay. We are seen as pioneers in that program. So thank you to the board and to the district for supporting that. Challenges, unstructured time and student engagement. Scheduling outside vendors, we really wanted to have vendors come in for lunch to help kids during the unstructured time, and sometimes just scheduling them was difficult. So we're gonna work on that closer next year, as well as attendance, we've done a great improvement on it, but I think we can still continue to work on this as an area of growth because we want our families to know coming to school is very important. We did discontinue the digital literacy action item that we have because we're just moving it to the library with our own staff. So I'm going to pass this over to Paula.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about the LCFF budget. Oops. There we go. The budget overview for parents is called the BOP. This slide is all about revenue. The LCF funding graphics highlights two main components of our funding sources. On the right, you'll see the supplemental and concentration funding. That's that little slice. We get about $304,000, which is specifically donated to support our unduplicated students, including English language learners, homeless, foster youth, and socioeconomically disadvantaged students. When you look at the left circle, the circle represents our total funding for the district, with an emphasis on local contributions. The Hermosa Beach Education Foundation generously is going to provide $1.4 million.
Incredible.
And this is going to support key positions and programs such as counselors, library media techs, zero period in elementary PE, IDEA and Sparks, elementary music, middle school band, and elementary Spanish. We're also excited to introduce two new programs which Sylvia referred to, the Textosa and Invention Convention. In addition, for local contributions, HPPTO is contributing about $278,000 for a wide range of school site programs and activities, including lunch clubs, assemblies, transportation for field trips, student recognition, and many other special events throughout the year. These local partnerships play a vital role in enriching the educational experience for all Hermosa students. Our other funding sources are federal funds. We're slated to get $271,000. At this point, we have not heard that any of those will be cut. And then we do get other state funding for Prop 28, Effective Educators, ELOPE, Arts and Music Grant, Learning Block, TUPE, which is the drug program, special education, and state mental health dollars as well. Budgeted overview funds. This slide is all about expenditures. So total expenditures in the budget this year is $23.2 million. Of that $23.2 million, $19.7 million is tied to a goal in action that is going to directly affect student outcomes and programs. Oops. It goes too fast. There we go. This is our favorite slide, right, everyone? Mm-hmm. As you can see, 80% of our budget is spent on salaries, with only 20% going to supplies and services. And I think we do a pretty good job of getting the job done with the resources that we have. You push it. It doesn't want to go. I have one more slide.
Okay.
Backwards, please. There we go. There we go. So the multi-year projections. The multi-year projections are anchored in reliable information as of the date the projections are made. And those assumptions change from day to day. I wanted to talk about the top tier in the green and yellow box where it says enrollment in ADA. Let's look at 25-26. We're slated for enrollment at 1479, and our average daily attendance would be 1406 or 1407. Every day, we're losing an average of 71 students not being at school. So it's important that every student comes to school every day. If you look at our base grant average is $10,000, and we're losing $56 per student per day times 180 days. That's over $700,000 that we're losing out on. So we need your students to come to school every day. I mean, that would really help the budget, right? And as you look at the chart, enrollment and attendance are steadily growing about 5% this year, reflecting strong community and interest in our schools. Revenues are growing each year, and the district is strategically investing in programs and services to support student success. While planned deficit spending is occurring, reserves remain well above the state standard minimum, ensuring continual financial stability. Thank you.
As part of the LCAP, we are required to complete what's called the local indicators, so we'll go over that section. When you adopt the LCAP next board meeting, the local indicators will be placed there too. The reason why the local indicators are important is it does list some basic conditions in regards to teacher assignments and instructional materials. The local indicators is more of a narrative document that is a self-reflection, and it's just a way for us to have transparency in regards to what we're doing as a school district, what our needs are, and how we are supporting our students with the LCFF formula. In regards to the local indicators, there are various priorities that we must address. We have the state standards, and the items that we do look at are instructional materials. How are we implementing things? What is the implementation like in regards to math, science, social studies? What phase are we in? How are we addressing this with professional development? So you can see where we're at in regards to the implementation process. We also have very strong implementation in regards to our parent and family engagement, especially with our relationship with and communication with our families. We do look at all the school climate surveys, specifically the climate surveys from our students. And what we're really focusing in this area, how do kids feel safe at school? And do they feel connected with adults at school as well? And lastly, we want to ensure that our students have a broad course of study, and how we do that is we do an audit through PowerSchool to ensure that they're getting their reading, math, social studies, science, and electives. In regards to next steps, we are going to look at the following items. We do have today the board public hearing. We want the public to know that the draft LCAP is available for viewing at our website. It's just under the LCAP when you go to our website. You're also welcome to submit any feedback you have in regards to our LCAP once you review it. There is an online form, or you can just send an email directly to me. We will go ahead and address any comments. And we will continue to work closely with LACO in regards to any changes that we have. We've already been working with them in regards to the educational component, and we've made our changes. We're now having them look at our financial component to provide the feedback that we need. And then on June 23rd, the board will go ahead and approve the LCAP, and then we'll post it on the necessary websites to be in compliance with the law. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Paula. I'll see if there's any questions on this end. Rachel?
No questions, just a comment of the phenomenal job and the number of recognition of the number of hours it takes to meet all these state requirements through the LCAP process. So thank you so much.
Kathy?
I'm good.
Maggie, go ahead.
Kudos to the team on this. I've had to sit on your committee, so I know the work that goes into it. I just wanted to make a comment that statewide the average is a decline of 5% of enrollment, and we grew 5% this past year. I mean, so kudos to the entire Hermosa Beach community for continuing to believe in this district and grow it at 5%. That's literally unheard of across the state. I'm really proud that we were able to do that. That's amazing work. And then on top of that, also I'm looking forward to the enrollment conversation, attendance conversation that I guess we need to have as a board and as a district to figure out where we need to go deeper on that. So looking forward to that summer conversation too.
And when you're talking attendance, do you mean the $700,000 we're losing? Yeah, because if you think about, you have HBEF giving 1.2, and if you added 700,000, that would be almost $2 million that we could have to do additional programming. So 700,000 is a big number to lose out on.
Yep.
So I'm hoping, well, there's obviously we got to work on some strategies to get students to come and especially the younger grades.
And being strategic about activities that we plan on the days that traditionally people like to skip, make it really incentive to come to school.
So, this is not a new situation. I think we've had that issue before, but it's fluctuated. This sounds like a larger number than we've been dealing with for a while. So good, thank you for bringing that to our attention, and great job with all that presentation. And I do want to let people know, I know everyone did a lot of the surveys for the master plan that we're putting together, and all that survey, all the comments that you made, whether you're a student and a parent or a staff member, you really, if you look at and you dive deeper into this LCAP, you definitely can see how that is formed, the LCAP, and it really goes along with our goals. So it's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things to read, but I think everyone's voice, I feel like our voices, the voices of the community and the students were really heard. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
All right. There's no vote to take on that, but so we'll move on to 11.2, the Measure HV project prioritization. Mr. Alan Riesling. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam President, board members, staff, and the community. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Alan Rising, and I'm with the District Advocates Group, and I'm here to talk to us today about the Measure HV prioritization plan. A lot of work has happened, and we're ready to present some great feedback and revisions to the plan as we move forward. So really, as a reminder for the community, a little background, we passed a $28.7 million bond in November 2024. Those bond proceeds really are received over time. That's not a one-time check. The money doesn't come to us all at once. It's staged over time, and we're currently forecasting to have an $8 million bond sale in 2025. We'll be seeing some documents about that later tonight. Okay, I'll use this mic. There you go, that works. So bond proceeds are received over time. It doesn't all come to us in one check. We're scheduled to receive an $8 million sell $8 million in bonds in 2025. We'd be looking at another $10 million in bonds in 2027 and $10.7 million in bonds in 2029. So what that means is that we have to put a plan together and really look at how do we affect these projects over time as those revenues come to the district to be able to be executed. We saw a presentation on May 14th from ISID Advisors that kind of detailed how that works. So if the community hasn't looked at that, it's a great presentation to really understand a little bit more about how bonds work. So we also, on May 14th, we also had a great discussion about project prioritization, where we discussed with the board those projects. We received feedback and update from the board on some of the thoughts about how those projects should be moved forward. The discussion really with the board centered around playground renovations and a timeline for Hermosa Valley School and how we would engage on the playground. Also at Hermosa Valley, what we would do with outdated portables and how we would address those portables that have really exceeded their life cycle and how we would address removing those and maybe repurposing that space or reimagining that space elsewhere. At both Hermosa View and Hermosa Vista, there were conversations about some of the special education program needs at those sites, and there's also some enrollment challenges at those sites as well, as we just heard from our budget presentation about increased enrollment, which is a great problem to have. We had conversations at both of those schools. We had conversations about the availability and timeline of these bond proceeds and when they would come in and what those numbers would look like. We also talked a lot about anticipated cost escalations. We are in a market where costs are going up dramatically. We're not really certain what is going to happen at a federal level and how maybe some of those tariffs that we all hear in the news every night, how those may be impacting our availability of materials and other things necessary to bring these projects forward. And we also have these soft cost allowances which pay for things like inspectors and architects and engineers to be able to bring these projects forward. So really digging in a little bit, we took all that feedback from the board. We heard what was being said, we heard the conversations, and so we went back and rolled up our sleeves and really looked again closely at our project timeline. And so what I'm showing you here today is the results of those conversations and the results of that development. As again, we overlaid our availability of dollars with the projects. I highlighted some of the revisions to this plan just to kind of acknowledge that the conversation with the board was heard. So at Hermosa Valley School, in addition to looking at the possibility of new flexible science classroom space and new performing arts classrooms, we also added the removal of those outdated portable buildings and addressing some of those playground repairs that would be necessitated by the removal of those portables. At Hermosa Vista School, not only did we look at the alterations to rooms 108 and 208, these are some necessary space for special education programs, but we want to really reimagine that space to address some of that enrollment challenges at Hermosa Vista School so that we can ensure that those children have suitable spaces for their educational needs. Also on Series 1, we looked at Hermosa View School and recognized that there's additional space due to enrollment and special education needs for support staff and programming, looking at how we could possibly add some additional space at that school to, again, support those students' needs at the school site. And lastly, we had the district-wide audit survey for technology improvements across our district, all included in our Phase 1 execution plan for the bond. Moving into Series 2, again, that's 2020. In 2027, we anticipate receiving $10 million in bonds. We would then move forward with the implementation of those technology improvements across the schools, across the district. We'd look at Hermosa Valley School and do more large-scale, more intensive playground renovations at that school site. There's needs to really examine closely the administration building and how we could update the administration building to provide access from our communities and provide I'll say a better approach and a better entry to that school. Relocation of the front entry to ensure that community members have direct access to the office, which also requires traffic circle and student pickup and drop-off improvements at the front of that site. HVAC improvements. There's several buildings that will be done over the summer, but there's also other needs at the school site that have to be addressed across the campus to ensure that we have comfortable environments for students and teachers to perform appropriately. And then we have miscellaneous different building systems and cosmetic improvements that would go along with that, the work at Hermosa Valley. Moving on to Series 3, this is again in 2029. We anticipate receiving $10.7 million in bond proceeds. And again, we would look at Hermosa Valley. Now we're moving into the athletic field improvements. Some of those outdoor spaces that students use and really contribute to their educational environment, we want to improve those. Develop some of the underutilized space outside the gym and locker rooms. There's some area there where there's an interest in really kind of reimagining how those spaces might better suit the needs of the students. Looking closely at our district administrative offices and how we might relocate those to provide better access to our community. And in various painting and other site improvements across that school site to really improve the curb appeal and ensure that our school sites are the most attractive to our community. And lastly, energy efficiency improvements. This is something that will kind of permeate our program as we move forward. A lot of the work that we talk about doing, we'll have to do some of these energy improvements, but this is more of a meaningful effort to really engage things like sustainability and how we can really look at our ongoing energy signature across our school district. So that's in our third series of bonds. Really, so the question is, what next, right? You know, what do we do moving forward? So tonight we're presenting this list to the board to have a conversation and ultimately present it to the board for approval so that we can begin executing this work. We do already have some walkthroughs established with various different campuses, 3 campuses with architectural firms. We'll be doing those later this month as we begin the process of getting a lot of those creative individuals that work for these firms to talk to us about what's possible and what we can do with our sites. We will need to ultimately select architectural firms that will work with us as we move forward to help design these improvements. We have to solicit for construction management firms. These are the firms that actually work on individual projects and work with the school district to ensure that the work is moved forward effectively, efficiently, and within budget. We have interviews scheduled for those firms next week, where we'll be coming to the board in the future to adopt a list of firms that we can work together as we move forward. We also want to keep our community informed and engaged. So we have plans with communication planning to put out community communication newsletters so that the community fully understands what's happening and they're involved in this process. We recognize that these are community dollars and we want to spend them effectively so that the community is well aware of what's happening. And then lastly, really continue with that community engagement and involvement component. As we begin to engage with architects, is establishing opportunities to connect with our community, both internal communities, students, teachers, staff, and also the larger community, to really make sure that we capture what the needs of these school sites are and include those in our plans moving forward. So our architectural firms are well aware that we'll be conducting several outreach and engagement sessions with the community at large and the school community to make sure that the projects actually meet those expectations. So with that, that's a quick update, but thank you for having me here today, and thank you for allowing me to work with you to bring these vital projects forward. So I'm available for any questions.
Great, thank you, Ellen. Have any questions? Yeah, go for it, Maggie.
Why do we keep calling it a flexible science space?
Flexible science spaces?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why is it flexible?
So many of our current curriculums require flexibility, whether they're going to be earth sciences or physical sciences, other types of sciences. Kind of the days where we build dedicated wet science labs or dedicated physical science labs are over. Really, we want to be flexible in all of our teaching spaces to allow for changing methods and changing curriculum to be provided in those spaces. So really the current design of science spaces is to provide as much flexibility as possible to allow that teacher to be creative in the way that they bring forth the educational curriculum.
Meaning, like, are you wondering, are they going to be like actual science labs or just not flex spaces? Yeah. Yeah. I think that's more the concern.
Yeah, so
No, the way we were envisioning it is more, we want to be very mindful that the rooms obviously can serve science, but also thinking that 10, 15 years from now, if one of them needed to change into a CTE classroom, or that we weren't locking ourselves into a design that we're married to for the next 30 years, right? We just want to make sure that it will live beyond us.
And so does that require then getting flexible furniture like portable sinks and safety? Because I think science labs, I think safety equipment, right? So does that just mean we have flexible safety equipment then? Or
What we'll probably do is actually go take a look, different places like Da Vinci, what their spaces look like. I want us to be able to think a little bit out of the box and make sure that the room grows with kids. We have 2 science labs right now where, they're set up, they have a sink every certain types of furniture. I just want us to think, okay, what could this room morph it if it needed to in 10 years, right? That we're not locked in. Could be portable, it could not be. It might just be maybe dedicated to one side of the room as opposed to I just want us to be flexible and be able to go and see what these science rooms look in some kind of newer facilities. Yeah.
Any other questions for Maggie? Kathy?
No, but thank you. It's very clear now, the steps, the progress that we're going to be making and the stages. It helps from my mind, non-budget mind. It helped me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to remind everyone that the meeting on the 14th was open to the public, and we did have Jim came and listened to, and we had, the architecture firms came that wanted to be there. So none of these meetings are they're all out in the public. Any public member is welcome to come or contact any of us. In the meantime, if they want to do outreach or have questions, we can talk about it with you anytime. This is, or get your ideas if you want to give feedback or input. And then the other part is I just wanted to say, I know that this is going to be a long-term project over the next, it looks like 6 years maybe. And so that seems, sometimes I think that will be a lot for people to handle, but we do have to kind of do this in parts. We are not looking at a blank slate. So it would be different if we, had a blank piece of ground and we were building everything at once and then we could redo it. But that's not the situation we have. So we do want to be really strategic about how we call for the bonds, in terms of like being true to our not raising any taxes. And we also want to make sure we're doing the things like least disruptive and give the biggest bang for our buck for the students. So trying to always put students first in these building projects, and then just being really strategic to be less disruptive, because our community has had a lot of disruption with moving. And so, doing this first set of science classrooms really is not going to disrupt the Valley school day, which is great news for us. But we hope, the best we can. Yeah. So we're happy to talk through that with parents or the community if they're concerned or want more information as well. But thank you, Ellen, for helping to steward this, because it's a big process, and we're all not architects and builders. We've all had lots of experiences, but we're glad we have a partner with you guys. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right.
All right.
We will be moving on to Superintendent Report, Dr. Wilds, 11.3.
Ellen, if you don't mind just throwing me the clicker.
Oh, yes.
Just maybe not throwing it at me, but
just toss it up to Susan.
All right. And we're up. Great. Wonderful. Thank you. So tonight, we want to talk about, I want to kind of give a preview of an action item that's going to fall later in the agenda. But we want to talk about the risk of reading difficulty screener, part of the Senate Bill 114, and give everybody a quick overview of this process. So Senate Bill 114, by the way, that's my favorite little character on the right-hand side, so he shows up a couple times. Senate 114 says that starting in the 25-26 school year and annually thereafter, a local education agency, school districts, anyone who serves students in kindergarten, kindergarten, first or second grade, must assess each student annually for risk of reading difficulties. And we have to use a screener that has been adopted by the governing board, but also that's been approved by the state of California. And so this process, we'll talk a little bit about kind of what this process was. So when we say screening tool, we mean a very brief instrument, something that can be done that is meant to be done by the teacher of record, the classroom teacher, classroom support staff, who are appropriately trained, but it is not meant to take hours out of instruction. It is meant to give a very quick screener and picture of what's happening with the student's reading development. This measure is going to give staff some areas that we may need to look at further and to determine those students who might be at risk of reading difficulties, including students who are at risk for dyslexia. So why do we want to screen? Well, we know that the students are continuing to struggling to read in third grade. They will continue to be poor readers through ninth grade and high school. We know that students who are not reading by grade level by third grade are significantly more likely to drop out of school before they earn a high school diploma. But we do know that students who receive early intervention in research-based practices with well-designed tier one and tier 2 instruction, that more than 90% of students can become very proficient readers without having to move to tier 3. And we just know that early intervention is much better than trying to fix a problem in late elementary and middle school. So what screening is not, it's not to be used for any high-stakes purposes. It's not to be used to identify students with a disability, and it's not a formal evaluation because, like I said, all of the screening instruments that have been approved by the state range anywhere between 5 to 6 minutes per student to maybe about 15 to 20 minutes per student. So that's just not long enough to do a deep dive, but it is long enough for us to get a good idea of who we need to look at a little bit further and who we need to really focus some attention on. It does not diagnose students for special needs, and so we just want to make sure that all families are aware of that, or diagnose for any related services. So when the state of California, when this bill passed, the California Department of Education was charged with putting together a subcommittee to examine, and they basically did in an old-fashioned kind of RFP process. They sent requests out, and a variety of different companies were able to submit their screener for review. The screener has to include all of these items. The screener had to take a look at students, to measure students' oral language, their phonological and phonemic awareness, their decoding, their letter sound knowledge, rapid automatized naming. So that is a really pivotal one, and it's a piece of this screener that not all screeners had. If they didn't have that, they didn't make it through in the approval process. Their visual attention, their reading fluency, vocabulary, and language comprehension. So all of these items had to be part of the screener, and we had to be able to get information about them. Moving forward, then, not moving forward, step back. So it was the state board appointed a panel of experts in January 2024, so a little over a year ago. They then approved the list of screening instruments just this past December. 4 screening instruments passed and that were accepted by the board. Those 4 then kind of set forth in their kind of RFQ what the price is, right? So different districts couldn't get gouged. There's a set price for all districts for the 4 screeners. By June of June, at the end of this month, all LEAs have to adopt one or more, and I'll talk about that in a minute, why some are adopting more than one. And then starting for the 25-26 school year, we then have to assess annually. There's nothing in the legislation that says when in the school year that you have to assess. For example, would you want to assess kindergartners in August? Probably not. Not going to give you great data. They haven't had schooling, right? However, there is an intent in the legislation that in grades 1 and 2, you need to assess early enough to do something about it, right? So, as we start rolling this out, those will be conversations that we'll be having. So there are 4. The first one is called Multitudes. That was brought forward by the University of California, San Francisco. AMIRA is a second one. Then you have ROAR, Rapid Online Assessment of Reading. That one was put together by the Stanford University. And then we have DIBBLES. And if you have any familiarity with early reading, DIBBLES has been around for decades. I think I was dibbling kids back in 1994 in Virginia. It's been around forever. It's probably not the best sounding verb. But they were purchased several years ago, and they have a partnership with Amplify, which has been renamed M-Class. ROAR is actually, of these 4, there is one that is free, that is ROAR. It's made free to any LEA. However, not all grade levels are accepted. And so ROAR would be one if a district adopts ROAR. They also have to adopt a second one for grade K. So you have 2 different indicators. What's slightly problematic about that, in my opinion, is you have one indicator for kindergarten, you're shifting your indicator for first grade, and you don't get to see the consistent progress monitoring across those 3 years, which will be very important for students who show an indication of a risk of reading difficulty. So we put together a subgroup of the ELA committee. So I want to thank Carrie King, Heather Myers, Annie Munson, Molly Spees, and then we felt it was very important to bring our school psychologists along in this journey. I attended a training by LACO while everybody else was on spring break, and did a training with these 4 screeners, and then was able to redeliver the training to this team. We carefully reviewed all 4, and then we met quick consensus around DIBBLES. Our biggest considerations that we looked at obviously were administration. We wanted to make sure it was something that was easy for staff to administer. We wanted to look at the user experience of the students. Some, Mira, for example, students are really fully sitting. It's a fully AI experience, and students are just sitting on a computer and they're clicking. Great. But it took the teacher out of the experience, and we wanted the teacher deeply in the experience. We felt it was really strongly that the teacher sat alongside the students. We also looked at data reporting. We felt that DIBBLES had the most robust data reporting. In addition, it also has progress monitoring ability. So for students who are indicating at risk, we can progress monitor as frequently as every week if we need to kind of see some impact. So next steps, we're going to be asking you later in the meeting today to, there's an action item for formal adoption. We will then begin a training for our teachers, our staff, and our administrators. We were going to time this, though. We do have a big ELA adoption. We want to give teachers the grace of getting that training and start that in their classrooms. And so we believe this training probably, the committee and I felt strongly that this training should start happening in a December, January timeframe. And then we also felt strongly that it will be important to have a lot of parent and community education around what a screener is. The law does require parents to have notification 10 days prior to screening and a results 45 days after. And we want parents to be incredibly knowledgeable about the report that's coming home. So we want to lead that training by myself, school principals, as also school psychologists, so that parents, when they see, an indicator, a number, they know what they're looking at. Like I said, we want to administer in the winter trimester. We'll make sure parents and guardians have their results no later than 45. And then we want to have our coaching for our administrators, our teachers and specialists on the what next. First you screen, but then what happens next? And we'll be doing that next year as well. How will RBUSD respond to students demonstrating at risk? One of the most critical things we can do, we have a very high quality, research-based phonics program in our TK to 3 classrooms. So we need to make sure that we are lockstep, arm in arm, and we are teaching it to full fidelity so that we can guarantee to our parents that students are getting the correct medicine, is what we like to say it. It's evidence-based structured literacy, and then what is that tier 2 if students need more? Oftentimes we think tier 2 has to be different, but oftentimes students just need repetition. So how do we give students more repetition in the lessons that we know work? Not all students learn a lesson once and get it. So we need to make sure we have structures for that, and then making sure that we are continually progress monitoring. So that was fast. Any questions?
Go ahead, Rachel.
Thank you. I think that, your implementation just of all of this and has been fantastic so far. I was wondering about the parental education component because it does seem, this could be scary for parents and you hear screener, dyslexia, and oh my God. So I think, that part and how we educate them is going to be super important. So I was wondering about, are we going to have a multivariate approach of, community meetings plus emails? It's not just I love our wave. But I think especially honing in on what does this mean and what are the next steps we're taking care of your student. This is to help our students so we know where they are so we can provide them X, Y, and Z.
And all of those, it's further back. When we look at all of those bullet points of what the screeners had to have, some are, for lack of a better term, some I'm going to hone in a little more than others, right? If I'm seeing a student with low maybe phonemic awareness, that tells me we need more instruction, right? But if I have a student who is showing some really low scores and rapid automatized naming, how quickly we're pulling out that information, that's going to give me different information. And so I want to commend Gabrielle Verdura. She was like, the psychologists want to help take this on so that they can really help parents understand. Some numbers are going to be a little bit, it's why we like Dibbles. It gave us very clear data points because we don't want just an overall score of, hey, you're in red. Sorry.
I wish it had a different name because that name just makes it sound really sophomoric.
I know. But it's what we liked about it is that we can now have these conversations.
Dibbles is a stupid name.
It is, but it's got a lot of, it's been around for decades. It's got history.
Yeah, it's been around forever. But our parents don't know that. They're Dibbles. You're like, what?
Yeah.
It just sounds
and I think when parents we want to make sure that they're fully educated. One of the things we learned from even just the strategic plan survey is we asked a question: Do the iReady reports help you? And overwhelmingly, parents and students said no. That tells me not that it's a bad report. We just haven't done a good job telling you about what the report's telling you, right? So we want to learn from that learning. I don't want to even say it's a mistake. We want to train people. We also know that parents are less likely to show up in person to things, so we want to give it any way we can do it. Zoom, recorded, we'll do them in person, but really helping them to understand that some of these indicators just mean, hey, we're going to watch, and we need to make sure maybe you get a second dose at the back table with a small group to get lessons again. But some things are going to pop really quickly, and we need to go in there and maybe look a little bit differently and see maybe there is, like rapid automatized naming, for example, is one of the indicators that is a little bit more often associated with dyslexia versus another one that just might mean you haven't had schooling, so.
So will we know, I mean, because I guess since it's so tailored and individualized per student, a parent, I mean, once they get those, within 45 days, the results back, will there be time for them structured to be able to meet with whomever, to be able to discuss it one-on-one?
Yeah,
So we're gonna have to
so
build that time
we're going
into
to
more
kind of, we
hours.
want to be, we want to give us some, give ourselves and our staff some time. We also want teachers, we don't want teachers, sending teachers into parent-teacher conferences and not being educated to have this conversation, right? We don't want a parent-teacher to say, I don't really know what that one means, so maybe you should, you know, we want everyone to be very educated to say, okay, this one we're watching, but we're going to do this about it. So this is going to take some time, starting with the teachers, then starting with our parents, and our principals as well.
One question,
Yeah.
and I apologize if it's a stupid one.
No.
I mean, I hear Stanford, and I heard the Stanford one, and I heard free and heard roar. Can
Yeah,
we
I did
supplement-
too.
Can
Yeah.
we supplement what we're doing, what we're paying for in Dibbles?
Yeah.
Don't like the name.
Yeah.
With Dibbles, with the free one from Stanford, to see.
It's
even
the
though
same,
not-
it's
is
going to
it-
get the same
is it
data,
same?
and it's just taking more time.
So we're paying for something only because we don't have it for kindergarten?
We're paying for something for two reasons. I liked Roar because of the simplicity in executing it. What it did miss, and what we're getting in the paid version if it's adopted, is that we're getting the progress monitoring and we are getting really detailed, actionable reports that our staff and our teachers and principals can use. Roar has a reporting, but it doesn't have a really robust back-end reporting tool where our principals can hone in, our school psychologists can hone in, which I think is really critical.
This provides better tailored guidance on what to do.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Maggie? Kathy?
All right. Well, oh, yeah.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Excuse me. So it's kinder and first grade, and so remind me or remind us all, how does it differ than what we're currently doing?
It's K1 and K1 and 2.
K1
so
and 2, but
second
we
grade as well.
beginning of the year assessments.
Yes,
with
so we
students, and
do
we'd
in
be able
kinder-
to like highlight like, oh, I can see that the student might be a little lower in some things or have some deficits. somewhere
Yeah,
that
so
we need-
in kindergarten teachers utilize ESGI, which is a teacher one-on-one. It's more criterion-based. So there are how, you know, it's naming your letters. It's very much tied to learning standards. Whereas I'll start calling it M class instead of Dibbles, but M class is norm referenced, right? So it's a different type of assessment. The ESGI doesn't go into deep detail about all of these reading indicators, phonemic awareness, oral language, those kinds of things, in as deeply. Like I said, it's more of a standards level in English and math. And then first grade and second grade do iReady. But iReady doesn't hit all of those different indicators.
And did we do Dibbles in the past? I thought we've done Dibbles with.
We've done it.
Yeah.
At View, we've used Dibbles in the past when we had a reading specialist back in the day when I was a principal.
So
a long
years ago.
time ago.
So we
And
weren't
it's-
triangulating data with, for
That's
some reason
been
I thought we were
updated.
doing that more recently. No, okay. And then we are going to train the teachers on how to do Dibbles.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and just be consistent.
Yes.
The other thing I think might be helpful is letting parents take the screener.
That's a good question, yeah, just to
show
see it.
them, because
Yeah.
I think once you become more knowledgeable, it's like you're just a little scared when you're a
100%.
kinder, first, second grade
They have
parent. that you're
some
like,
really great
"Something's
videos.
wrong."
Yeah, they have some really great videos to kind of show the students' experience that they utilized in the training that we can absolutely share with parents.
It just might unlock some, like, even if you're a parent that doesn't, I mean, a lot of times I think dyslexia is like a hereditary. A lot of parents have it and then their kids have it. But, if you understand what you can unlock, there's so many things
Yeah.
you can do now if you do have dyslexia, whether
Right.
there's just lots
Yes.
of different tools that they didn't have when we were growing up.
Absolutely.
So a lot of
Yes.
people might be afraid that they're going to, and you can see like behavioral differences in kids that have
Absolutely.
dyslexia. So,
Yeah.
but it doesn't just screen for dyslexia.
No, they call it the risk of reading difficulties, dyslexia being one of them, right? One of originally this was called the dyslexia bill.
Right.
But, it's what we didn't, when I did a webinar probably 6-7 months ago with the CDE, what they didn't want that people to say, oh, you got the screener, you have dyslexia. So,
Right.
because it's a spectrum, right?
Sure.
And it could just be poor instruction, lack of instruction, lack of going to there's so many issues. They just didn't want this to be like, oh, someone popped in the red and that means you have this. It's just, you are at risk, which we can mediate the risk, right?
Yeah.
We can address the risk, and then we can monitor it.
And it's like, it's kind of, again, there's just so many factors. It's like, many of us have seen kids make backwards letters for years.
Absolutely.
And then their letters just turn around.
Absolutely.
At a certain age. And
Yeah.
so I think maybe, I'm sure you're going to do this anyway, but just thinking about from receiving it from as a parent, understanding like, you're not going to get a SST meeting.
An IEP, right.
Yet.
Yeah.
This is just
But we're going to watch.
something on the way to we're watching.
Yeah, and that's what
paying attention.
And we really loved about this is then we then get to say, there's the reading screener for M class, that, it might take each student, anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how they do in the different subsections. If they don't do well, it will cut them off and it won't go on to more advanced ones. But then it also has just 1 and 2 minute that you can, we call them progress monitoring, that you can do every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. So now we can see progress across time. And in that, we want to see that you're responding to the intervention. We're going to give some more intense instruction in foundations. We want to see how you respond to that. If we don't see response, then we know as a team, we now need to move to step 2.
And then we don't screen, or we don't do any like IEPs for kids in kinder and first grade at this point. Is that
We
right?
can, if students, we have a variety of students with a variety of different
They might have come in
diagnoses.
from preschool with something like that, but do we give students IEPs in kinder and first grade? Is that normal?
If they need it, but what I would
meaning
say.
more like for academically.
Yeah.
Usually
Not
you
typically,
let them.
typically you don't do academic, if you don't see those needs, because like I said, what a student looks like in October of kindergarten, by October of first grade, it's a totally different child.
I just think we'll really double down on that parent education.
Yes,
because I think
100%.
and the school
Yes.
psychologist.
We don't
because
wanna
we're
lose
gonna
any
get
of these great
inundated
psychologists.
With people being like, I need to do an IEP. I need to and then
Yeah.
we're gonna have to, those dates are pretty hard. And
Yes.
so I just make sure we're really training the teachers on.
Yes.
Really training.
The school psychologists are very invested.
Yes.
They are
Yes.
very invested in this education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since we have our new principal is going to be in the audience,
Yes.
I'm glad you're hearing all of
Yes.
this. So,
All right. Any more questions?
yeah, go
about-
ahead, Rachel.
Just one more, since this was
Sure.
a state mandate, how
Yeah.
much is the state funding for this?
That's a great question. It's my favorite question. The state, it's an unfunded mandate. So it's a law. So now we don't have to be, it will continue in perpetuity. The state provided one-time small amount of money. We got $7,200 and $8,200 but they restricted that money. That money can only go to trained teachers and staff in how to do it. There is no money to fund the paying for these. And a screener will average anywhere, like Roar, that is free. However, you might, as a district, you might then want to buy something that provides progress monitoring, anywhere to like maybe $3 to $4 a student. We will negotiate a multi-year contract, which gets you a discount, but they're all going to run anywhere between $3 to $5 a student. I want to say Multitudes was maybe the most expensive, but yeah. Unfunded mandate is what we like to call this.
It is going to help a lot, though.
It's going to be great.
Like when you catch
It's going to be
dyslexia
great.
young like that.
And it's going to be led by
tremendously.
2 people who I want to introduce you to before we
Great.
move on tonight.
All right.
So
is that part of your? Is that still part of your?
It is
report?
my last
Oh,
part,
okay,
my
let's
last
do
piece.
it.
So
All
I
right.
want to bring up 2 of my new favorite people. Although, to be honest, they've been my favorite people for a long time. So I want to bring up Dr. Jessica Gobriel and Grace Yang. Come on up. All right, Jessica, we'll let you go first.
All right.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much, President Cole, members of the board, executive cabinet.
I cannot express how thrilled and deeply humbled I am that you have chosen me to lead Hermosa View. My passion for early childhood runs deep, and I truly believe that these early years are the foundation for a bright future. It's where curiosity is sparked, confidence is built, and the love of learning begins. This is why I'm committed to ensuring we work together to provide a safe, loving, and nurturing environment where all children are given what they need to meet their potential. My experience in education spans a wide variety of roles from preschool to first grade, special day to co-teach to general education. I taught 13 years in Torrance Unified and most recently was a program specialist for Redondo Beach, where I supported the district's special education programming, including the behavior team, 3 elementary schools, as well as our preschool and early start program. I was born and raised in Torrance, where I attended Torrance schools, and I'm a diehard Bruin. Go Bruins. I come from a family of educators in their own disciplines. My father was a history teacher, my older brother a doctor of medicine who teaches other doctors on the most advanced surgical practices, and my younger brother an educator on the field of football in the NFL. I bring with me tonight my beautiful family, my 3 amazing nephews, James, Henry, and George, and my older brother Andrew. My dad's at home watching, and my little brother in New York. My family has supported me every step of the way, but they also bring in some healthy competition. Andrew and I like to joke about who the real doctor in the family is. And my younger brother likes to argue with me about who works more. I mean, who does that? Definitely surrounded by some overachievers and slightly insane personalities, but all self-driven, highly motivated, and super competitive with each other. So know that I will beat Grace Yang's school in the next district-wide fundraiser. Game on. But growing up, my dad would take my brothers and I to a local park in the South Bay, and rather than play with kids my age, I would find a mother with her baby, and I found so much joy interacting and engaging with that child. That love for teaching and for fostering the growth of children around me fills my cup and carries on until this day. But with that, I promise to be a servant leader who stays true to why I got into this job to begin with, and that's to help find the light in every child so that they can learn and thrive. I'm honored to be reunited with and work under the guidance and support of Dr. Wilds, who I've been so fortunate enough to learn from and I respect so much. As a South Bay native, choosing Hermosa Beach City School District was a no-brainer. It's true that everyone here is just so nice, like you said, Susan. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart for this amazing opportunity to serve the Hermosa community.
Welcome, welcome. We wanted to know if you could sing a song for us before you go back. I'm just joking. I read the resume.
Hello, I'm Grace Yang, proud new principal of Hermosa Vista Elementary School. Thank you, Superintendent Wilds, President Cole, board members, and cabinet. I'm excited to be the new principal at Hermosa Vista Elementary School. I also am a proud UCLA Bruin, go Bruins.
Thank you.
Who went to Claremont Graduate University for my master's and received my admin credential at Cal State Dominguez Hills. I remember the day I sat watching my son playing basketball at the playground of beautiful Hermosa Vista Elementary, and I was talking to a parent. With excitement, she let me know about the tight-knit community and the small school environment she was proud to be a part of. I knew then that this was a special place and I had to be a part of it. As a former special educator who believes in the instruction of all students, I am excited to be a part of this 2nd to 4th grade community in which we all work together to ensure our children grow to be the best version they can be. I am very passionate about instruction and believe in the power of the science of reading strategies, just like we were talking about earlier today. I used my own child in my practicum and saw that he grew to become a reader, and I saw the importance of giving this skill to all students. My husband, who doesn't work in education at all, said to me, "Whatever you're doing with our kids, it's working. When I read to him at night, I see the difference. I believe in every child's ability to learn to read because reading is a foundational skill every child deserves." My own children, Abby is in 4th grade, and Noah, he is in 2nd grade, and they are the inspiration and the reason I have chosen a path in education. I wish that their schools can be a place where they feel safe to grow, challenged academically, and feel a part of a community in which they can contribute to. I do know that I can make this happen at Hermosa Vista Elementary School. My own story as an immigrant's child was one I had to pave the way, but learn grit and perseverance. My parents, who could not speak English, immigrated for a chance at an American education that paved opportunities for me and instilled the importance of getting a good education, and I have fulfilled for them an American dream. I hope to be a part of every child at Hermosa Vista Elementary School's journey as they encounter experiences that will be part of their memories and their stories to tell. I hope to continue the work at Hermosa Vista Elementary School that makes it the unique place that people want to be a part of. Thank you for allowing me that opportunity. Lastly, I'm thankful for my family who has joined me today, including my husband, David, and my 2 children, Abby and Noah, who continue to encourage me every day to be the best version of me. Thank you.
Thank you both for being here tonight and with all of your families, and welcome to the community. So we're really happy to have you, and I hope you consider sending your children here as well, or your nephews. All right. All right, we're going to move on tonight to the consent agenda. There's a lot on that consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I make a move to
Thanks,
approve.
Maggie. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. A lot of these things on the consent agenda are things that we just, we look at every year and are not really any new news. But so thank you for getting all those on there, Paula and Ms.
Thanks,
Gluck.
you guys.
Thank you. Good night. All right, so with that, can I get a motion, I got a motion from Maggie and a second from Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Motion passes. Moving on. Sorry, gotta move really pretty far
It's a
through
deep-
this. A lot on that consent agenda. Moving on to action items, Superintendent Resolution number 21:24/25 of the Board of Education of the Hermosa Beach City School District, authorizing the issuance of the Hermosa Beach City School District, Los Angeles County, California, election of 2024 general obligation bonds. This is very exciting. Series A, pursuant to certain provisions of the government code in a principal amount not to exceed $8 million and approving certain other matters related thereto.
All right, so this is a resolution to authorize the issuance of the bonds pursuant to the Ed Code 15146B2 and specifies the basic terms and the parameters and form of the bonds. It approves the forms of the purchase contract, a preliminary official statement, and the continuing disclosure certificate. Tonight, we also have Lawrence Chen from Strandling Law to answer any additional questions that you might have, but staff recommends you approve this resolution.
Great, I'll just go around the horn. Anybody have any questions, any reasons to not approve this bond that the city of Hermosa Beach and taxpayers should know about?
I think we've been well prepared from several meetings discussing it, so I feel pretty confident that we can move forward.
Great.
I'm excited, not just confident, but so excited.
It is very exciting. We feel very
this
proud of
happen.
ourselves and are very excited. So with that, can I get a motion?
So
I'll
moved.
move.
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Kathy. Thank you, Rachel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's a big deal. City of Hermosa Beach, here we go.
Thanks for money.
100 years from now, we will all still be a name on the wall.
Those flexible
Mark this
science rooms
moment.
will be still working.
Mark this moment. All right, moving on to 13.2, approval of Measure HV. Good night. Thank you for sitting here with
Thank
us
you,
and
Lawrence.
being available.
Very patient.
Approval of Measure HV, General Obligation Bond Project Prioritization. Dr. Wilds.
Yes, so this is a follow-up item to Mr. Riesling's earlier presentation that was a revised based on input and feedback from last month's meeting. Staff recommends you approve this prioritization list for Measure HV bond projects.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Go ahead.
Comment, and it's a follow-up from Maggie's terrific comment about flexible science space, because when we sold the bond on having science, I kept talking about science labs and the great science lab at MSMB, et cetera. So I just want to ensure that we're still getting a science
Absolutely. Yeah,
lab space.
absolutely. And even, when we think in like the world of education also, being that room also being able to be used in like career technical education. There's so many things besides just Bunsen burners. We want to make sure that it's able to accommodate.
Well, I was thinking that room that you brought us on, we've had so many walkthroughs that had really cool big, huge tools.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
no one has touched in
Right.
years. And I
Yeah.
can imagine a science
That's
lab
what I
feeling
think-
really
Yeah.
rigid, being like that. So I completely
Absolutely.
appreciate and
Yeah.
support the flexibility involved of our
Yeah.
new
It's
science
just smart.
spaces. Yeah.
We just want it to live beyond us. We also,
Smart
you know,
science labs.
sometimes especially.
How about smart science labs? Can we
Yeah.
call it that instead?
Rather than flexible?
But yeah, absolutely. We also, sometimes in a smaller school district, like if enrollment starts growing and we have maybe a science teacher who's working in that room 5 periods and we need someone else to go into the 6th period, we want to be able to use it.
Smartly.
Yeah, smartly.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yes.
Smart science.
Can I get a,
So moved.
thank you, Kathy. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. And just a reminder, you know, we are having public meetings about these things. We did have one recently. So with that, the prioritization comes off of the bond, comes off of this meeting. Trying to be as transparent as possible about the process. Thank you for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. 13.3, the governance calendar, Dr. Wilds.
Yeah, in accordance with California Ed Code 42127 and 52062, the governing board is required to oversee the development of a timeline for the adoption of the district's annual budget and the district's annual LCAP, including opportunities for public input and review on that calendar. Staff recommend you approve the 25-26 calendar.
Go ahead, Maggie.
Thanks so much for putting that together. I understand it's for compliance and statutory reasons on there. I'm also curious, though, if there is a space in there to put for nudges of how the board should be thinking about, like CSBA bells or any
We can add that.
California distinguished stuff, just so the board is aware of those timelines and
Yep.
we can then start to do any action we need.
Yeah, we can do that too. I can add that. California Distinguished, they bestow on you based on your scores. So there's nothing we need to do, but the bell, absolutely, we can put that on there.
And then just remind you, this is probably where like a technology, like approval of a technology plan would
That's
go
in there.
a regular.
Yeah. Yep.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead, Maggie.
Sorry, that just made me think, because we have, and this might be a separate conversation that maybe is not for governance, because I know some of those are on not annual, but like biannual
Yeah.
or not even triannual
Yeah.
review cycles. But I do think there's probably a conversation we need to come up to know, like, what is the cycle of the different plans that are out there? Because there's tech, I think there's a couple other.
Yeah. The tech plan is, there's
That's
board,
one, but
yeah.
there's other plans.
Tech plan's
that I
a good
think we-
example, though, because board policy says one will be brought up every 3 years, right? So some are governed by board policy that we can pull into the plan, and then
That'd be
others
good.
are.
Maybe it's just even at the bottom of the governance calendar, it's like the annual dates of when
Yeah.
other plans are coming up, so just future boards know when to expect it.
Yep.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Maggie.
I
Since you
second.
created it at one point.
I second that.
Thank you, Rachel. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, wholeheartedly. Thank you. Legacy, Maggie, legacy. 13.4, approval of a risk of reading difficulties screener.
Yes, so as shared in the earlier presentation, this is a recommendation to approve M-Class Dibbles as the HBCSD Risk of Reading Difficulty Screener to meet the requirements of Senate Bill 114. Interesting to note, if we decide at a later date that we want to shift, this will be brought back to the board for approval.
Because we're not actually going to implement this in probably till January, so if for some reason, I don't know,
Yeah.
information comes out, or we're like, you know what, we
Yeah.
just want to go with this one version, or they've
could.
improved the free version.
Yes, and we do a 3-year contract with M-Class, and as we're at the end of the 3-year cycle, the state approves a different one we want to go with. Each time, it'll have to be brought back to the board.
It's
for approval.
interesting, I know they have to have 4 because there has to be competition.
Yeah.
But it is interesting because it's like, you're not going to get a standardization.
No, yeah.
So, and then it is so dependent on the giver of the
Yes.
test.
Yes, and so interesting to note with, we are quoting out because to administer M-Class Dibbles, as the student is reading, the teacher is marking. That is, I've done it for years. It's a little bit more challenging if you're doing it on a mouse pad, a little less challenging with an actual mouse, but it's the easiest and most effective on an iPad. So we want to thank the IT department who are quoting out for us. So each teacher will have an iPad as a touch iPad to mark as the students read. It's just going to get the most accurate information.
Yeah, you can see why taking the human out of it would I mean, just
Yeah.
out of the process
Yeah.
is better, you know,
Yeah.
if you think about it. However, I asked this to Dr. Wilds the other day, and you want to just tell your anecdote about Redondo?
So in Redondo, we implemented this years ago, and we wanted to do all kindergarten through fifth grade across eighth grade, 8 campuses. It was a huge endeavor. We put an entire team together. It was led by a kind of a floating school psychologist that we had. We brought in 5 different psych interns, plus I had 3 TOSAs plus myself, and we would descend on a campus for a whole day, right? And we would teachers would bring their classes through, or we would visit each classroom, and we were banging them out real quick. We could do an entire class in probably about 20 minutes, which was great. The problem was we were doing the assessing. We knew the information. Teachers were looking at dry data they had no connection to, right? Hearing a student read is as powerful as the data you're looking at.
Absolutely.
So what we found is that there was a disconnect from the teachers from the data. And we really, we thought we had this really brilliant plan. It was a way to get this amazing data across the district. It was helping teachers. But what we found is that fewer and fewer teachers were as invested in the data because it was a thing the district was doing for them. So we learned. So.
We're going for golden bell on this one.
I mean-
okay, so we're going from learning to what we're changing
Yeah.
to implementation.
Yeah.
We're going to be a test study.
Yeah. And also, it's hard for a teacher to explain data that they didn't see get collected, right?
Yeah.
So we're learning. I learned. That was a bad idea.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a bad idea. It's just at the time, it just made more sense because then you don't have to have a
Totally.
sub and you don't have to have kids
Yeah.
get distracted. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
And I'm really pleased that we're doing it after they've kind of got their wheels going
Yeah.
with the new
We
language.
got to give them some
program.
grace. Give them some grace.
Yeah, I think that's
well,
gonna
that and
be
then kids,
important.
kids that actually, if you're in kindergarten,
Right.
and you've probably most of our kids have come into kindergarten with some letter sense and number
Yes.
sense, a little,
Yeah.
if not a lot.
Yeah.
Then you'll know by January. Are we?
100%.
Is this? Do we have some concerns that we need to be paying attention to?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think
On a
it's good
go-forward
timing.
basis, after this year of implementation, kindergarten will probably always live in a January winter administration, but first and second grade will get probably pulled
Yeah,
up to
pulled up.
September.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
I'll motion to adopt the end class. Risk of reading difficulty screener.
Thank you, Rachel.
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to 13.5, the approval of district-wide contract with LA County Office of Education for PBIS support. Dr. Wiles.
Yes, so this is just a new contract. You've approved this contract before, but it was only for Valley. This is a new contract that expands across 3 schools. We want to build some coherence, K-8, as opposed to just having it at one campus. This provides coaching and implementation support to each school team, and staff recommend you approve this contract.
And talk to us about what the coaching looks like.
So the principals and a small team go in person. So they'll go, depending on what level the school's at, year 1, year 2, year 2A, 2B, the training looks slightly different, but they go in person to get direct professional development and time together, and the coaches are there to kind of help them think through their discipline matrix, their expectations, how their maybe behavioral lessons that need to be taught. It also provides LACO PBIS coaches who come out to the school site and will come out during recesses and lunches and walk the campus with the principals to help them kind of see the campus in kind of a different way.
And will our 3 schools go together? Since Valley's already done it.
Yeah.
I mean, it still would be great because
Yeah.
we can have some
Valley will be in 2, they'll be in 2Bs, which is the different level. Vista and View will be in what we call year 1. But our goal is to have time for them to have some togetherness. We don't, I think things are a lot more effective for students if they're not code switching every
Right.
time
They
they
move to
change
a
a
new
school.
campus, yeah. Okay, moving on to business. We have to have an approval. So can I get a motion? Thank you, Rachel.
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. All in favor?
Aye.
And moving on to business 13.6, adopt the resolution 22:24/25, the authorized resolution signature. Ms. Montalvo.
Thank you. This is actually a biannual process. We do it in December and again in June. So it's nothing different. The district must forward this to the county for certification of signatures of the members of the governing board and persons authorized to sign notices of employment, contracts, orders drawn on the funds of the school district's account. The recommendation is that Resolution 222425 authorized signatures be approved.
Great, thanks, Paula. Can I get a motion, or does anyone have any questions? Can I get a motion?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Maggie. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 13.7, consultant agreement, mentorship services with Sandy Scora, Dr. Wilds.
Yes. So we met two amazing principals tonight, but we want to be able to make sure that all principals get coaching and mentorship that is separate and apart from what we're going to get them. So Sandy has been an absolute amazing addition, and so she can help now that she knows the processes in Hermosa, and this will be to provide both Grace and Jessica direct coaching support as they start the year and then through the year.
I love this idea.
Tell me, I just had a quick question. When you get your admin credential now, do you still have to you have to clear it,
Still have to
right?
clear it. They both have clear credentials because they've been administrators.
Okay. Do they get a tier 2, or do they have to do
A
clear
clear.
1 and a clear 2, or just clear
I
1?
think it's, I don't know what they call the beginning one, but it's clear. They both have a clear administrative credential. They would have had to clear it as part of their last position.
Right, okay. And how much tell us how many days a week will she come, or?
So we're going to start with just bulk hours because we felt like maybe in the beginning of the year, they might need a little bit more of her time and kind of taper off. So
So this is up to $8,000,
Yeah,
not
for
not
both
to
of them, yeah.
exceed.
Yeah.
For both, so 16 or 8 total?
For each, we're going to start and see what they need. And then if we need to add more, we can add more later.
So this is just for View and Vista, but what about, do we already have a coach for Valley?
Jessica has a coach that she works with. Yeah.
And we've had coaches before. We had
Lisa Veal.
Lisa Veal as well. So it's been great. Even though I know the role of the superintendent is also to coach these the principals, but this is a different
It's hard when you're the
partnership.
coach and the evaluator. Oftentimes, someone might say, I have my own coach, right? And so I can sit in a room and say, hey, I'm struggling with this thing, and you get to have a free space to be able to have somebody to be a thought partner.
And will you be able to give Ms. Scora input on things that you know directionally? Okay.
We do, yeah. We have, I've got a kind of a detailed kind of month by month, just logistics of being a principal, but then also some insight of, hey, at this school, coach for here, this school, coach for here.
Great.
She'll have very unique insight about View, so she'll be able to kind of help continue what she's already started.
Okay, great. And how do we, sorry, just, this is not a question for here. I'll ask it later. Okay. Thank you, Rachel.
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor? Aye. 13.8, consultant agreement before and after school care enrichment as aligned to the ELOPE program. Ms. Gluck.
So START Education provides the before and after school program plus 30 days of additional programming for intercession for our families. We're bringing forward to you a new contract. Something in the contract that is new is STAR will be paying the district for janitorial services 2 hours a day for their students using our campuses. So we would like for you to approve the consultant agreement with START Education to provide the before and after school childcare and enrichment services in line with the 25-26 ELO plan to be approved.
Any questions?
STAR is invaluable, so we, yeah.
This is already something we pay, right? Every year we pay STAR.
Yes.
So $50,000 isn't like a new thing, just so we're clear. But tell me, the janitorial services, is that included then in this?
So historically, the $50,000 just covers the cost of students who qualify for ELOP, your low income, your English language learners, your homeless, foster. And so that $50,000 pays for the cost of those students before and after school care to get to the 9 hours, which is the ELOP mandate. However, STAR is in a number of our classrooms. As they've grown, it's a real need. However, it does put a fairly big burden on our maintenance in terms of even just like toilet paper and paper towels and those kinds of things and cleaning classrooms. So we met with STAR and they're more than happy to help kind of cover the cost of some maintenance and operations
So
costs.
they're going to give us money?
Yes.
So is it going to
Yes.
get deducted from this?
They're kind of separate. This will be just.
Separate things,
yeah,
got it.
That'll
okay.
be.
And our maintenance
Yes.
crew, or I'm not sure, their union everyone knows that that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So everyone's
Yes.
good with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is kind of two separate. This is just for them providing ELOP services is what this contract is. But then they also have the parent pay. The parent pay will be paying us for some.
So this is after school care, but we call it a consultant agreement because
they're providing the
they're
service.
providing services,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah. Some districts have their own people providing
Right.
the service.
Exactly.
Yes.
Love Star. Very good people. Thank you. Thank you again, Ms. Gluck, for bringing this partnership to the school. All right, can I get a motion? Thank you, Maggie.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on, personnel, accept for filing the joint initial proposal from the district and Hermosa Beach Educators Association. Dr. Wilds.
So the Board of Education is requested to accept for public filing the joint initial proposal between the city school district and the Hermosa Beach Educators Association. The acceptance of this filing begins the negotiation process and to begin negotiations for a successor collective bargaining agreement. So this is kind of what we call a reopener, not the full reopener of the full contract. This step is just a legal requirement so that it ensures transparency in the negotiation process so everybody knows what we are negotiating. And it makes the proposals available for public review. Staff recommend you accept these proposals.
Questions?
Yeah.
No, just a shout out to Ms. Navas, who always puts herself forward and does a good job representing, I think, the teachers.
It's a hard job.
It is a hard job,
Yeah,
and she does it really great.
It has done it for a while.
Yeah,
I've done it
and
for a while.
uniquely, we're probably the only district that I know in this whole area that it's a conjoined district union. So hats off to her.
Yeah. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Rachel.
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on, 13.10, 2025-2026 Declaration of Needs for Fully Qualified Educators. Dr. Wild.
Yes, so this is just this is something we bring to the board yearly in the event that we need it. And so oftentimes we will bring a list of, I say that as if I was here last time at this time, but districts bring this forward every year in the event that come at the beginning of the school year, we have difficulty funding some traditionally hard to fill positions. Typically it's special education, single subject. Staff recommend you approve this declaration.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on. 13.11, the approval of a job description, teacher on special assignment, technology and innovation. Can't even wait. Talk to us, tell us more.
So this is a brand new job description, and I just want to stop and thank the Hermosa Beach Education Foundation.
And the families.
And the families, and early in the fall when we met with both HVPTO and HBEF, we meet monthly, but they said, sky's the limit, what would you like? And we said, we would really like a Tech-TOSA who can bridge. There's the technology of the stuff, but then there's how you use it in the classroom. And we really feel like someone who can make sure that they are in the cutting edge of professional development, resources out there, and who can help coach teachers alongside in the classroom. So it's what we have and then how we use it. And then we also want this person to really help take the lead in bringing together a stakeholder group and a committee working alongside Ms. Gluck to put together our artificial intelligence plan, implementation plan. What will that look like? And our goal is a year from now, we will be bringing that plan to the board for approval.
Great. It's really exciting. This is going to be an exciting role, so I hope we can't wait to meet that
There's an
person.
opening if you want.
Yeah, I would want that job, but I think right now I'm going to pass. But any questions?
That sounds
And we, okay, great. Can't wait. Can I get a motion? Thank you, Rachel. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor? Aye. Moving on to 13.12, classified employment transaction, new position and revised classified salary schedule, site supervisor and lead preschool teacher. Ms. Gluck.
Hi, we're looking to realign our preschool to include a site supervisor and lead preschool teacher. So we've created a job description and revised classified salary schedule for a site supervisor and lead preschool teacher to be approved.
Great, thank you. And just to clarify, our new principal is taking over the role of Director of
Yes.
Preschool
Yeah.
Education in Hermosa.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
No.
All right, I think this is a great alignment and movement. We love Miss Hannah, but just this, due to a lot of reasons, this is just going to be a great
We're
movement.
just small.
Yeah, it is small, but mighty.
I move to approve.
Thank you, Kathy.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to 13.13, classified employment transaction, update to the job description, occupational therapist. Ms. Gluck.
So we have a new occupational therapist position open in the district, and we felt it was prudent for us to look at our current job description and align it with current best practices. So we'd like for you and recommend to approve the job description for the occupational therapist to be approved.
Any questions? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Kathy.
Second.
Thank you, Rachel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Moving on to board member roundtable. Kathy, I thought you might have something you wanted to talk about in roundtable.
Oh, yeah. There's a couple things that happened this week that I think are notable. One is the reunion of our eighth graders that
Yeah,
come
that was
back.
amazing.
And this was my last year as a teacher, the students that I had. But I think it's something that I think I'm happy that we started it. And I like the idea of some people who are saying next year we have them come with their gowns and walk through all the campuses. I think that would be so special. But the kids coming back are so excited to see their campus, and they're so mature. They seem like I remember talking to the eighth graders and saying, you guys wouldn't have given me the time of day in eighth grade. And they're like, well, high school, we mature. We do mature. That's one thing that happened that I was really happy to see in action. And then the third grade, eighth grade, the eighth graders write the books for the third graders. And that's always a real special thing that we get to see these eighth graders who are actually nervous to sit with these third graders and read the book with them that they've written for them. And like Dr. Wilds and I were talking about how valuable it is to write with a purpose, write with an audience, know that you're writing something that's going to, it's favoring that student, that person. And I don't know, it's an exciting thing, and I'm really, hats off to Adriana Rangel, who works her little butt off to get that thing done, and I'm happy for her. So it was a great day to see. So that's it.
Any other roundtable?
I think we also had the middle school honor roll breakfast, which was over 300, I think, students this year. It was incredible. So many community volunteers to make that happen, and a lot of work. I had a special shout out to Christine Schultz, who's always done an amazing job with that. There's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes. And the way that NPR room has transformed from Valley Open House to, and hats off to Young at Art. I mean, it was an amazing art gallery in there. It was amazing. It looked beautiful. I was really sad to walk in there and see it all gone. It like comes up and comes down, but some really special things going on at our middle school. So thank you.
Maggie?
Yeah, kudos to our teachers and staff for another successful year, and congratulations to our culminating eighth graders. I realized with this alumni group coming back from high school, they were the class I started with when I started school board back in 2013. So this was my graduating class of one full cycle of K-12 students. So that's really fun to have been a part of that.
That's good job, Maggie.
Yeah.
Mine are just that appreciate that the fact that the board meeting had to move to today, because next week, Wednesday, we do have graduation. So that is the reason, the culmination, sorry. That is the reason the meeting was changed. So appreciate everyone being flexible for that. Really loved going to all the open houses and seeing all the teachers. There was just a lot of, I did it mainly with Carol, who's out sick today, but it was just lovely to walk through everyone's room and connect with the teachers and see the families, and love how many students were kind of leading their families through all their work and just a lot of cohesion between grade levels. It just made you really proud. So great job to the staff and the principals and all of you for doing such a great job of, just it's an awesome place to bring your kid to school. We're lucky here. And then we have so many great end of the year traditions in Hermosa. And so I would just like to encourage all those families to let your child have that tradition and continue to send them to school every day till the very last day. I know it's excruciating sometimes to be like, do we really have to go? And the answer is yes. But there's a lot of fun things that happen at the end of the school year that you will have for memories for years to come if you let them. So please allow them to stay in school all week. That would be wonderful. And with that, I'll have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Rachel. And all in favor?
Aye.